This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so I'm Flight Sergeant Weens, and I will be teaching you EOM 390.03, describe effective speaking techniques. And this lesson will be 30 minutes long. So the objectives and importance of this lesson is the cadets, you guys will be able to describe elements of voice control and effective speaking preparation. And this is very important for you guys because you will become instructors soon, and knowing how to communicate effectively and knowing how to control your voice will help you in becoming a confident instructor. So teaching point 1 is explain elements of voice control. So the elements of voice control. Voice control is one of the most important things to remember when communicating. To communicate effectively, you need to place emphasis on different information, and it is a fundamental skill. So the elements of voice control, the first one is pitch, and pitch is how high or low a voice is, and changes in pitch when someone is presenting can help keep audiences involved and place emphasis on different things. The next one is tone. Tone is the quality of the sound of the voice. People often change the tone to give emphasis or to convey an emotion when they're speaking. So the next one is volume. Volume is how loud or quiet your voice is. It is important to speak at a good volume so that the audience can hear you and understand you and what you're saying. Changes in volume can give emphasis on certain things. So if they're talking louder, it would draw more attention. The next one is the speed. Speaking too fast or too slow can be very distracting to an audience, so it's very important to speak at a good pace. So not too slow or not too fast, but so the audience can understand you and understand what you're saying. Pauses. It gives the audience an opportunity to digest the information that you are telling them. It can be an effective way to change the subject or to change to a different important point you're making. And the last one is articulation. Articulation is important because it's you have to properly pronounce and articulate the words so that the audience can clearly understand what you're saying. So if if what you're saying isn't very clear, they won't be able to understand, and there's no point in really saying it because they don't know what you're saying. So it's very important to articulate your words and speak clearly. So this is confirmation for teaching point 1. First question is, can you guys name the 6 elements of voice control? So six elements I just went over with you guys, and be able to put it in the chat. So I'll help you guys out. The first one is pitch, and can anyone name the rest of them? Just put it in the chat. Just write it out. Speed, yep, that's one of them. Volume, that's one too. Tone, yep, that's one as well. We just have two more. No, that's not one of them, but it.
Pauses.
So the six elements of voice control are pitch, tone, volume, speed, pause, and articulation. So next question is, what can a change in volume mean? What does it mean to change the volume if you're speaking louder at a certain point? Yep, that could be one of them as well. There's not quite the one I'm looking for, but yes, it can place emphasis on important information. And the last question is, why is it important to speak clearly? Why would it be important to speak clearly?
So people can understand what you're saying.
That's right, yeah. So the audience can understand you. So teaching point 2 is discuss elements of physical presence. So the elements of physical presence. Most of the meaning of a message comes from nonverbal communication. So if it's good or bad or happy or sad, right? First element of physical presence is body language. Body language is when you communicate through conscious and unconscious gestures and expressions. So when how you stand or the movement in your face or your eyes and your mouth. Mhm. Next one is facial expressions. Most of the meaning of a message is communicated through the eyes, eyebrows, and mouth. So, and you always want to act friendly and when you're in front of an audience, so they are going to listen to you. So it's important to smile. Next one is eye contact. It is important to maintain eye contact because it is a good way of engaging the audience and making sure they're paying attention, just looking at them. And you have to make sure you look at the entire room and not just stare at one person. Okay. The next element is gestures. So gestures is when you move your hands and arms around and while you're talking to add meaning to a message and to help explain it. But you don't want to let the gestures become like distracting when you flail your arms around. You just want to keep them simple. The next one is movement. Being aware of movement is important to effective communication. It'll help keep listeners engaged and interested in what you're saying. So you're just not always staying in one spot. Don't move frantically, walking all over the place because it can be very distracting to the audience. Next is dress and deportment. The audience will react differently to someone who is well dressed and acts professionally than to someone who is dressed very poorly and acts unprofessionally. So when you're teaching or you're an instructor, you want to make sure your uniform uh, is always really good with nicely polished boots. The creases in your pants are good. You ironed your uniform. Just making sure your uniform is an example to other cadets. And you want to act professionally. Don't be like too silly. Just act professionally to gain the respect of the audience. So confirmation for teaching point 2. How do you think an instructor should present themselves in front of a class in terms of dress and deportment? How do you think the uniform should be? How do you think they should act? Yes, they should have a professional attitude. They should always act professional. Anything else? Like, how should they wear their uniform? Yep, the right way. Making sure your boots are polished and pants are ironed and your uniform's all clean and everything's sewn on properly. Yeah. So the next question is, why is maintaining eye contact so important to effective communication? Yeah, to keep their attention. That's right. Yeah. And lastly, the last question, what is the importance of gestures? Why is it important to move around? Yeah, it keeps them interested, but it also does something else. Can you think of anything else? Yes, that's right. It brings the information alive and it can place emphasis on the information as well. That is right. Okay. Teaching point 3 is effective speaking preparation. So we'll be learning how to prepare for a lesson or how to prepare to speak in front of a group. So preparation is the most important component of effective communication. It will help with your confidence and it will help control your nervousness. It will also increase the likelihood of success. So if you're prepared, it'll be a lot easier to succeed and you'll feel a lot more comfortable with what you're presenting in front of a large group. So the first thing you have to do is practice. You have to, the proper practicing will help you memorize the content, which will help you maintain eye contact and will help you to not be staring at a piece of paper the entire time. It'll also give you more confidence because you know what you're talking about, and it'll make the audience think that you know what you're talking about if you memorize it. Memorizing the introduction and conclusion is very, very important because a strong introduction will aid in gaining confidence and will draw interest from the listeners. So if you have a strong introduction, you'll have a lot more confidence and to continue with your presentation. A strong conclusion will leave a lasting impression on the audience. They'll think, wow, that was a really good presentation. So it really helps to memorize the introduction and conclusion. When you're practicing, even if you're alone, practice it out loud so you can, so it'll help you more. Also, it helps to practice in front of small groups. So the next step is controlling nervousness. Nervousness before presenting in front of a large group is very normal, and it can even help you with your presentation. These steps I have can help control your nervousness, so you won't be as nervous when you're in front of a group. So first is you have to be familiar with the room layout prior to presenting. Just you'll be familiar with the area and it won't be a new place that you have to go to present. Make sure the notes or handouts and presentation aids are organized. So if you go to hand something out, you know where they are and it can easily be done. So you're not messing around in your bag or messing around looking for them because it looks very unprofessional when you do this. Any equipment that you're going to be using for your presentation, make sure it works correctly and is ready to use and that you know how to use it. so you can look professional in front of the group. Next, make sure you practice and you're ready for what you're saying in front of the group. You have to enter the room with a confident and positive attitude and make sure to smile. Take a deep breath before entering the room to help you keep calm, and it's very important to keep calm when you're presenting. So another step that you should do is identifying a friendly face. So while speaking in front of a large group or an audience, identify a friendly face and make eye contact with them, because it'll often give you confidence, and having this confidence will lead to your success. So if you see someone like your friend, make sure to make eye contact with them and just know that they're there, because it'll give you confidence. But make sure they don't start making faces at you and distract you, because that would not be very good. So confirmation for teaching point 3. What are the 3 steps that we just went over to effective speaking preparation? So what 3 steps did we just go over?
Identify a friendly face.
Yep, that is one of them. That's one of the steps. There's 2 more. So the first one is making sure you practice, and practicing will help you succeed in the presentation. And there's one more, if anyone can name that. Yes, that is one of the things that helps control nervousness, which is one of the steps. So there's practicing controlling nervousness and breathing, and identifying a friendly face. So having everything you need for a class will help you not be as nervous. Okay. So what can you do to control nervousness? What steps can you take to control your nervousness? Flight Corporal Sharp just put one of them in the chat. So one of them is be familiar with the room layout, so you know what to expect when going in. It looks like we're having connection issues. But to answer the question, to control nervousness, the steps you can take are familiar with the room layout, ensure you have everything you need. So notes, handouts, or equipment that you're using, making sure it all works. And practice and enter the room with a confident and positive attitude. And that is the end of the lesson. That was EOM 309.03, describe effective speaking techniques, and I'm Flight Sergeant Wiggins.
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so hey guys, I am CV, Civilian Volunteer Huang. My first name is Jay, but you guys can call me CV Huang. Yeah, and I am going to be teaching you guys EOC 331.01, reviewing principles of flight. So because I'm new here and you guys probably don't know me, I will just introduce myself really quickly. Yeah, who am I? So I was born and raised in South Korea for the first 13 years of my life, and then my family decided to move to Canada, and we decided to move to Fredericton, which is the capital city of New Brunswick, on the East Coast. So I grew up there, and there I joined the 333 Lord Beaverbrook Air Cadets. So I'm a former cadet. And there I was fortunate enough to get the glider scholarship. So I trained to get my glider's pilot's license in Dibert in Nova Scotia. As you can see, that's me stretching. That was my instructor that day. And I don't know if you can see, but there's a guy who's laying on the runway by the wing. Don't worry about him. He's not dead. He's just enjoying some tanning sessions. And then the year after that, I was lucky enough to get my power scholarship. So that's me. I think I was soloing, doing a cross country over New Brunswick. So that's New Brunswick in the background. And that's me by the plane that I flew that day. And right now I am a third-year medical science student at Western studying pharmacology. So I think this class will be a really informative one in case you are very interested in aviation. So the objective is that you guys will be essentially reviewing principles of flight, and it is important because as an air cadet, it's important to have basic knowledge of aviation, and especially if you want to go into pilot training, or I don't know if you guys do FAMILS here in London. Oh, you guys do, okay. Yeah, and if you guys do FAMILS, you'll be able to appreciate more of the concepts behind how you're actually flying and controlling in the air. So yeah, this the axes were supposed to pop up by animation, but since I can't do that, I'll just review the 3 axes of an aircraft with you. I was gonna ask you guys to name some, but I just can't right now. It's okay. So you have 3 axes. The 3 axes intersect one another at the center of gravity. So here, And the first axis I'll talk about is a longitudinal axis, which runs from the nose of an aircraft to the tail. And there is lateral axis, which runs from an end of a wing to another wing. And the vertical axis, which is runs from the top of the aircraft to the bottom. So I'm sure you guys have learned these concepts previously. So I'll be reinforcing you guys essentially today. So that was my teaching point 1, and now teaching point 2, describe control surfaces and their vectors, attitudes, and movements. So we have ailerons, rudders, and elevators. Those are the 3 main control surfaces. And can any of you tell me like what do they do specifically in terms of their movements and attitude changes? It's okay, you guys can type it up or speak freely. I don't really mind that. It's supposed to be like a discussion class, but with COVID, this is how things are. Oh, okay. They make the plane go in different directions. Yeah, they essentially do. All 3 of them have specific roles. Elevator helps control up and down. Yes, Captain Larvae. Elevator does that. Can anyone tell me about the ailerons? Because I personally like ailerons the most because they're, oh yeah, aileron, yes, they're there to help you roll. And right, roll. And rudder is to yaw. Yeah, essentially. So fin, so rudder of the fin section helps you to yaw. That's very good. So I'll just go over them a little more in a little more detail, just to get you guys reacquainted. Okay, so aileron. So essentially, ailerons make you roll. So if you ever see a plane flying, I think rolling is like the most cool movement that an airplane can do because you can't really roll in a car. So I like ailerons really well, really much. So if you're in an aircraft and you're sitting in a cockpit, you're in control. You have a control stick. It's like it's basically like a joystick on your PS4 or PS5 soon, or Xbox control remotes. So if you want to roll to the right, you will just push the stick to the right, and that will make the right aileron go up and left go down. So they move together, but in different directions. And if you want to roll to the left, the left aileron will move up and the right aileron will move down. So essentially how you are actually rolling is as you are, let's say you're rolling to the right and your right aileron is up, the air that is passing over your wings is kind of hooked on your aileron. And now your right aileron, which is elevated, is pushed down by the air, and the left aileron, which is pushed downwards, the air is actually pushing up. So it's creating more lift on the left side, and it's creating more drag on the right side. That's how you bank or roll to the right. And same thing goes to the left. I'm sure you guys are quite familiar with these. Yeah, and next up we have rudder. So rudder is controlled when you're in a cockpit. It's controlled by 2 rudder pedals. They are on your feet. Oh, hi, cat. They're by your feet. they're kind of like brakes. Yeah, they're kind of like brakes, really. So if you push or kick on the right rudder, simple enough, your rudder, if you push on the right pedal, simple enough, your right rudder, not right rudder, rudder will turn to the right, and your aircraft will also point to the right. So it's very simple. And if you want to yaw or to the left, you will just push down on your left pedal. And simply how it works is very similar to the aileron. It's all about air moving through and like you controlling the air. So if you're pushing down on the right pedal, air is hooked on your rudder that is pointing to the right, and it's forcing your empennage, or it's forcing your tail to move to the left and your head of the aircraft to the right. And it goes the same vice versa for the left side as well. And we have, last but not least, elevator. This is where you can actually gain your attitude or lose your attitude. So very similar to the ailerons and the rudder, it's all about the aerodynamics. When you're sitting in a cockpit with your control stick and you want to pitch nose down, so you want to descend towards the ground, you'll simply push the stick forward, and they will make your elevator on your horizontal stabilizer push downward, and the air moving through will be hooked on your elevator, and simply enough make your the head of the aircraft pitch down. And same thing for the nose up situation. You'll simply pull up on the control, and the rudder will be elevated as well. Not rudder, elevator will be elevated this time, and air will be hooked, pushing your empennage or tail section down, and vice versa, get your head of the airplane up. Yeah, I didn't really have specific teaching point confirmation questions. It was supposed to be like an in-class activity where you guys would have in-group discussions about control surfaces and their roles, essentially. But can any of you just like summarize what I've just taught you guys? Like important details. Chat is fine, or you can speak freely. But I guess some people are still experiencing some internet difficulties. Right, without these control surfaces, it would be impossible for aircraft to fly. Yes, without these, you will have no control over your aircraft, and you will just, yeah, it won't be fun. It'll be very dangerous. Yeah, this lesson was basically a review of really basic principles of flight. So I didn't think you would take a very long time as expected. Can anyone tell me specifically which aileron goes up and which goes down if you push your control stick to the right? Up on the left, down on the right. Wait. Yeah, I think it's backward. If you want to roll over to the right and you push the control column to the right,
Left side down, right side up.
Right, yeah, left side down, right side up. Yeah, that's a phrase that I haven't heard in a long time. Yeah. No. Okay, and if you want to pitch down, what would you do with your control stick? Green guy fails the flight controls. Yeah, push forward and you'll pitch down. Now, how about if you turn to the left or face the left, what would you do? Getting shot down in Flight Simulator. Yeah, Flight Simulators are really fun. I miss them in a while.
What were you guys saying? You guys were frozen for me for like a solid minute.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry about that. No, I was wondering, yeah, left pedal. So if you wanna look to the left or yaw to the left, you will just kick the left pedal, and that will make the rudder face left and your aircraft also face left. Simple enough. Simple enough. That's so fun. Yeah, only Flight Simulator that I can get a hold of is Google Earth right now. And it's really hard, Google Earth. It's not fun. Borderlands 3. Is that like a simulation? Or like a game that involves flying around? Not really. Okay. So what's the point? Oh, okay. Right. I will conclude this lesson, and if you guys have any questions, I can spend a few minutes answering your questions. Like I can tell you a little bit more about. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, the connection is really not that great right now. Watch the recording, that will probably be very helpful. Okay, so to conclude, oh, thank you, Captain. So this lesson was to review principles of flight, and it is important for understanding higher level material, and you guys will be teaching these to younger cadets soon. And also, if you're interested in flying and applying for scholarships, I don't know if any of you are in ground school as level 3s, but you guys will be definitely learning about these. I am, yeah, I was there once. So yeah, and if you guys learn more about the aircraft, check out From the Ground Up. It's a book that pretty much every single air cadet who's trying to get gliders pilot's license has to read through. It's not the most fun thing to read, but it's very informative. Yeah, so thank you for participating in the lesson. It was EOC 331.01, Review Principles of Flight. And that's me again in the bird. I was a flight ops. So I think I was telling people how many gliders were in the air and making sure they don't bump into each other. 12 in ground school. Oh, that's quite a lot actually. Yeah, 12. Yeah, ground school. I miss it. Yeah, do you guys have any specific questions, or like I can tell you guys like fun little stories that I had during training, if you'd like, for the next 3 minutes.